Hey there, ITC. Welcome. Looks like you're the first of the night. And I realised there was an echo there. Sorry about that. Once again, leaving the overhead microphone active. Should be all sorted out now. Amals. Nias. Right, just cleaning up a little bit before I get started on this set. Mother fricker. Just kicked my container of iPhone 6s across the floor. That's why you shouldn't leave things on the floor, apparently. Yes, that is how you lose things. I agree. Okay. Alright, let's just start to... It's a bit of a mess from last night's activities and a bit of today's stuff. Like I can retire this now. Clean up some wires. Let's go straight in the bin. Alright. Probably close enough now. Yes, in theory, tidy workspace is much better. I'm pretty bad for it though. By the way, the USB-C meter is all working really well now. It all stuck together and everything, but did some debugging today and looks pretty good. We'll use it a bit when I get this built. Alright, so I just need to first off reload the whatchamacallit into it, thermal paste. This one, I reckon they used up half of the Apple supply of thermal paste. It was just like thick and cakey all inside. That music's a bit loud. Right. Trying to think what I did with this one. What was this? Job 1422. Liquid damage. Yeah, a bunch of liquid damage. Should be all fixed now. This is just a reassembly to make sure it actually does work. You don't really need a lot of thermal paste. As long as you squish and spread it. Figured out how to wire an LM317 regulator, but I'm omitting the capacitors. If you do that, you may end up with some instability. It will have a tendency to oscillate on its voltage output. So here you go. Mind you, the 317 is a very tolerant regulator. You can get away with murder with that thing. Hey, Noosacat. Now I've got to wonder how I'm going to do the production of the USB-C current meters, and if it's even, in fact, even worth it. I guess I should really send off, get the initial prototypes, the actual manufacturer production prototypes done, see how they work out. I'm not sure I'll bother with the display on them, to be honest, because most people are going to have their own little plug-in display. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. If I leave the display off, it does make it quite a compact little unit. Hey Tony W. Hey, wrong way. Usually I brand my stuff as PLD. It's what I used to do. So yeah, nice, easy 3 letters. But of course, yeah, that expands out to the full name, of course. Have as an optional extra. Well, the trouble is, it's I don't really want to start splitting models already. It's sort of what you try to avoid doing. Given that it is primarily just meant to be a sort of inline vampire tap sort of thing, I don't know if I should complicate it more than that. TLA, the 3-letter acronym. Quite indeed. Still have liquid damage there. Probably going to be my luck that their keyboard's no good or something like that, but I'm going to have to start specifically listing my services as logic board repair only, because what I'm finding is that crying out loud, even if I do my job and repair the logic board, often the keyboard's no good, or crap, I forgot about the USB-C port. That was no good on this. Okay, have you got another one, Paul? I should have a spare one around here. Yes, we do. Yeah, even if I fix the logic board, which is basically, I've done my job, many a time I can end up having the job becoming a bit of a nightmare, because it will go back to the business that sent it to me, and they're all like, well, the machine doesn't work fully. It's like, yeah, well, I mean, I'm the logic board repairer. I don't do the rest of that's up to you. Or it's up to you to deal with the customer to deal with that. And so it causes a bit of contention, and sometimes, you miss out on you risk not getting paid, things like that. Crap, what did I do with the 2 screws that were meant for there? Should have been 2 screws here. I got those 3, those 3. Oh, I know where they are, they're over here. Hey there, Pedro. Hey, Creature. Yeah, Creature, there already are there are already Bluetooth ones out there. So, in fact, where is it? Where is it? I had a Bluetooth one on my bench just before, so that market's already covered. I don't need to touch that market. If people want to do a Bluetooth, they can subject themselves to that horror. I'm not doing it. Nope, not touching it. You can do it. You go ahead and do the Bluetooth, and you go ahead and handle the software stack for it, and the horrors that come with dealing with Bluetooth, especially BLE. No thanks. Besides, professional people use wired connections to ensure they get their data properly. Amateurs use wireless. Hey there, Toby. Yeah, but Creature, that's a problem. Done right. Everything done right, in theory, is good. Well, not everything, but in reality, I find it's more drama than it's worth. So, like I said, someone else wants to cover the Bluetooth market, they go right on ahead. If I was going to go wireless, I would probably just do... I honestly would prefer to just do 433 ISM band or 915, whatever's legal in that area. Sick to death of Bluetooth devices. Even quality brand items with Bluetooth I've had dramas with. The other problem you'll have with the Bluetooth Creature if you're doing a vampire tap is that it will actually... you'll need to put a backup battery or something in it, because otherwise it won't get any power when the current, when the cable's disconnected. Unless, of course, you make the device itself, put a couple of resistors in there to get some power off the USB-C line. But I say, good luck to you, sir. Hey there, tradie. Yeah, tradie. I've done some nice 433 projects in my time. I had, we had a tracking collar project for the dingoes on Fraser Island, I think it was. And we used a 433 unit in that. We also did a den camera, and we used the 433 to switch it on and off, things like that. So yeah, sure, it's got a low bit rate, relatively speaking, but it's dependable, and the low frequency, or even though it is UHF, gets around a lot of objects. But yeah, the tracking collar we had, it was a fun device to make, to design and make. Had to make it so it would last up to 12 months. And then on command, it would release. So it basically just drop off the animal. And because we had it on an animal, even though we had lithium packs at that stage, we were not going to risk it. So we had to use, I think, I can't remember what, zinc manganese or something like that. Anyway, they were handling the battery side of it. What are you doing? Yeah, like I said, you want to go ahead and do that, you go ahead and do that. I'm not. Hell, it's fun enough just trying to get COM ports sorted out. The biggest drama of the 433, of course, is that it's anyone can listen in on it. So you can decide to either not care about data security, which in most cases it really doesn't matter, Or you can go to the extra effort and come up with some relatively primitive encryption method. For flipback, great. So these are different to the. I thought these would come. Son of a bitch. The construction of these is slightly different to the construction of the one I just put in. These come with the integrated retainer plate, whereas those ones do not. Maybe I do have one of them around. Nope. There's another one. Integrated retainer plate and these horrible O-rings. What I might do is just take a retainer plate from another, my spare parts or something like that. Functionally, it's the same, of course. Let's see. No, naturally I do. Oh yeah, wait, no, I've got one. Yep. It is Rex. That should do the trick. What the frick? That's kind of weird. Huh. There's no difference in the length of these screws, but it almost felt like that was just going a bit too far. Yeah, see, it's loose there, but it won't go any further. I find that rather perplexing. Not only is it a left-handed screwdriver, it's an Australian upside-down driver. Oh, well, swapped them around, it was okay. They're the same length, but clearly one had decided it's cut a slightly inappropriate thread. It's probably cross-threaded itself somewhere. Screw it until it pushes through. It's a very unpleasant process when you try to put a bolt into an engine block and it's got a blind hole in it, and you just keep tightening it up until you hear the engine block go and break open, and you go, oh, whoops, that was a little bit too far. Hey there, Horst. Feeling a little bit short of breath today. I think I'm a bit congested up top. Having to be a mouth breather at the moment. That's rather offensive to myself. It's a very easy way to ingest flies. Some days rebuilding these machines seems to go quite quickly. You know, I can just mindlessly start out with it, and before I know it, I'm done. Other times, like now, it just seems to go on forever. It's like, gee whiz, what is it, like a 15-minute rebuild? It's probably longer than that now. What is it? Yeah, 21 minutes. No, there's no tiling going on in this office. The tiling is going on up at the other end of the house. Oh, maybe you were meaning the office to be... It's not yet complete, no. Because the office and the pantry room lead out into the kitchen, and we decided that since we finally have the tilers here, and since we have 150 square meters of tiles to use, we thought we would get them to do the kitchen in the same process, because then at least they can get the flow of the tiles, you know, consistent through the out of the rooms into the kitchen, rather than just terminating at the door threshold and then starting again 12 months later or something when we do finally get around to the kitchen. So it's delayed things, and it means it's going to be quite a bit more expensive, and yeah, it's a pain and all that sort of stuff, but at least it's out of the way. Getting a hold of a good tradie is difficult around here, so when we do manage to get hold of the one that we prefer, you try your best to maximize what you can get them to do. Yeah, tradie, I'm not a fan of snapping engine bolts myself. I've done it once on a motorbike, and the unfortunate thing was that was actually me trying to remove the bolt. It was one of the bolts that hold the overhead cams on into the engine block head. And yeah, I just was using a normal wrench, socket wrench, and it wasn't on an extension bar, and it didn't, it was what you'd expect to use. And instead of that satisfying crack noise that you hear for when the threads actually release, it was a very different sort of crack noise. Alright, let's see if this even works. Yep, that's working well. You can also see that the LCD matches the on-screen. When you hit a head really hard with the hammer, it unseats the bolt. Yep, that can work. That definitely can work. Yeah, touch bar is not... I don't know why it is that with some of the setups, the touch bar works even at the login prompt, and other setups it does not. We're going to assume that works. It's charging. I'm all good. Crap. Damn it, sticker on my finger and I can't get it off. Ah, that's better. Alright. Oh yeah, this has to get the green tick of approval. I like it when I have green ones in my queue, or my outbound box. 1422. Okay. Alright, next machine, which is not going to be a USB-C machine. What have I got? Let's see. Been damaged by rainwater. Will only power up after a long period. It's not responding when it does. Display black screen of death, and then will error for strange screen tear and garble. Yeah, yuck. Alright, guess we'll pick that one. Strange as it sounds, I say it's unfortunate that I don't have any more USB-C Macs to work on. I've only got older ones. It's basically getting to the point where, unless it's a 1466... Hey, speaking of which, there should be another 1466 here. Would it already fix that thing? Oh yeah, that's right, that was the DC inboard one. Damn it. Got my hopes up for an instant. Sad little life. Sad little life. I'm just going to open this one straight up. There's enough misbehavior going on that may as well just look straight at it. So, love my 1502. Pity the backlight connector crusher and shop plugged in. Oh, that for the keyboard backlight. So now if I have to type, I just fold the screen down and go. Oh, right, if you've got to type in the dark. Right, I gotcha. Or you could learn to touch type more. It is funny that you can touch type without thinking about it in many instances. But as soon as you have to do it in the dark or something like that, you suddenly realize you don't know where the keys really are most of the time. Okay, this looks like it's had a battery replacement. Oh, shit, this one's been here before. Oh, right, I know what this is. Right, no. Okay, I know, this is a one that needs a logic board replacement. Now I understand. I was going to say the number looked pretty old, 1246. Yeah, that one I've worked on before, and I basically just have to go look for a new logic board for it. It's got a RAM problem, and unfortunately it might actually end up being a CPU PCH problem. This is the 8204924. I might have a couple around. I certainly hope I do. It's going to be a pain though, because I was an idiot and I sold my last known working one. Okay, this has got 1286 screws in it. That's interesting. You can tell they're from an older generation because they're Phillips head. I mean, I can try and replace the RAM outright on the machine, but in most of these situations, it often is a PCH or CPU issue. Okay, that there is a pentalobe. Just realised it's got the person's name on the bottom of it. Fortunately, no other details. Getting a bit sloppy here. Okay, this is another 2015. Come on, come on. So 2.7, 16 gig RAM, this one. One, 4, 2, 3. It is technically possible to replace the CPUs, but it's not generally worth it. That's the problem. Yeah, many a time you got to, from a business perspective, you got to know when it's like, no, you know what, this just isn't going to happen. Liquid markets hit. Yeah, okay, so it is rain damage. Alright, in that case, we're just going to take it out. With this USB-C meter, I think the biggest problem is going to be, for me anyway, whether it's worth it in terms of profit. Because no, I'm going to be a real profiteering person. I'm going to try and make sure I make it worth my while. Maybe it's something I could send off to other people to sell on my behalf. It'll be sort of more of like Harold with his Medusa and all these other really nifty tools. That kind of sales approach. Where you're not expecting to do large numbers. And so your price tends to be a fair bit higher than China. If you want to have $1 million home like Northridge, yeah, I don't watch the guy's videos. I actually never have, and I haven't followed him. The only thing I really know about the chap is the secondary sort of responses of everybody else. But if he's got $1 million home, well, I guess he's doing something right, isn't he? Certainly something better than me. My home's only 180,000, which is probably 150 US, and it's gonna need a lot of work still. 3 times the cost. Yeah, Australians are used to that. You could sell a kit. No, actually, funnily enough, kits cost you more than completed systems. I know it sounds silly, but it's true. Kits cost more money for me than just selling a built machine. because the process of bagging up kits and yeah, just all that sort of stuff, it really sucks up your time and resources. And okay, so got a few dodgy. I'm pretty sure it's a USB power switch. Not sure what that is. CD32, yeah, not 100% sure. So we got some medium grade liquid damage all across this board on the underside. SMC amazingly seems clear. Yes, okay, so that, if I had to pick a smoking gun, it'll be this here. That one there. Ah, man, that one's also hit. That, I think that's camera something. That may be a guilty party, but I'd say it's that other thing that I just pointed out. It's also on the A1466, and I'm pretty sure it's the same function. Yeah, that there. Let's have a look at it. Yeah, precisely, Travis. Yeah, it's the packaging. Yep. That's why it's easier to just open source the hardware on the board and go, you know what, if you want to make your own, here you go, here's the instructions. The only stipulation would be that you cannot commercially produce it. Let's see. Alright, there you are. Sorry, folks. Pardon me. Oh no, different function of what I was expecting. Yeah, that's just a JTAG isolation. Oh, my bad. Even still, it will need fixing up. That crystal needs fixing up. So yeah, this is a bit of a go around, find all the gnarly looking bits, clean them up, and hope that you have a working board at the end of it. And more than likely, something else is going to be cactus. So we'll just get ourselves a 4924 donor and we start just doing a parts exchange. Assuming I can find a 4924. Dead CPU. Well, that seems like a good option. Yeah, by Jingo, by crikey. Uh-huh. Sometimes it just does not feel like you're getting the full power out of the hot air station. It's just a perception thing, but yeah, sometimes you feel like, no, that doesn't feel like 90% air. Jimbo, usually the bill of materials can be cheap, but my usual sort of formula is that you should at least sell for 10 times your bill of materials cost, assuming it's a pretty straightforward assembly. So if it costs me $3 on my bill of materials, I'm going to sell it for 30. And at that point, you probably will make enough money to go ahead with future developments and stuff like that. If you go for less than 10 times your bill of materials, you inevitably will start losing money one way or another. That's what I've found from experience anyway. Yeah, the materials themselves are often the cheapest part of the whole thing. I mean, you might be able to sell for less than 10 times if you can just have amazing numbers of sales. But when you're doing boutique level, where you're only dealing in tens or maybe hundreds, you've really got to pad out that margin. Otherwise, you won't have enough to be able to work on the next project and continue supporting the existing one. You'll start cannibalizing other parts of your business. Yeah, 2.5 to 3 at volume. Yeah, Adafruit is a different business situation. And that's what I was saying is if you're dealing at boutique levels, you're going to want to do 10. I mean, realistically, the bill of materials on this, I would say, will work out around about $4 to $5 with no cables. So let's call it 4. So, you sell it for $39, $49, and that's pretty much where it's going to hit. And when you think about it, the existing ones that you see around the place, they're all around decent ones. They're around about that price. Sure, you get the really super cheap ones for quite a bit less, but we want something that you want to go feature for feature and quality for quality. So I would say something like this. We'll call it 49 US, 50 US on the initial release. That would be assuming that I'm getting them made in lots of 100 and I'm having slave labor doing it. And the, the casing will probably just be heat shrink. If it started going over 55, I would have my doubts as to its viability on the market. There would probably be some people who would buy it simply just through loyalty, or there are people out there who will support you with those sort of things, but it's more of a charity purchase. But that's no way to make a living on a product. It works for a couple, but it's certainly not a long-term strategy. So miles, you picked up 159. 59 US or AU? Hey there, repair it all. The INA 219, it should be about $1.20 for 100 units. The nice thing about the INA 219 is it's just such a ubiquitous chip. It's like you can trip over a rock in the middle of the desert and you'll find an INA 219 behind it. Probably the serial chip, that will just be like the CH340. So they're about, I think they're about $1 a piece. The tiny 45 is probably going to be the most expensive part. And there are definitely much cheaper options that you can go for on that side of things. Like the Atmel AT Tiny, or AT, yeah, the AT series, they're a very expensive microcontroller for what they do. But they are also exceptionally convenient to use and develop on. So that's kind of how Atmel intended it. Like Microchip had the PIC series well before them, and the PIC series was cheap, but it was a bit of a pain in the ass to develop on, and you had to pay for the developer tools, if you're doing it properly. So Microchip was sort of making it, making their profits just other ways, whereas Atmel's like, well, up front we're going to ask you for a big chunk of money. Crikey, mate. Needless to say, they did find their respective markets, and I am a lot more a fan of the Atmel. Can't really call them that anymore because they are microchips now. 139 for 2,500. That's at Mouser though. You should try the Chinese suppliers. Check on AliExpress. Or Alibaba rather. You'll get them down a fair bit less than that. That chip is not sitting right, but unfortunately the flux is encrusted around it, so I'm going to have to... I don't know why that flux did that. Very annoying. Fuck a duck. Harry Daegu, whatever your name is, I think you just proved that you can't. Just demonstrated that you can't. Damn it. I was worried the chip wasn't aligned properly because it was sitting a bit skew. I was worried that, the flux had messed with it. But no, it was fine. Well, fine enough. Until I messed with it. Oh, we'll just have to get another board. If I optimized my code, I could probably fit everything onto a tiny 25. But there's no guarantee that the 25 will actually be cheaper under normal circumstances compared to a 45, because the 45 is probably a higher volume item. So chances are, just through sheer volume sales, it'll tend to be a cheaper... Oh man, you're a mangled chip. But we're still going to take you. Hey there, Micromage. To be fair, at this point I haven't done a bill of materials analysis, because I mean I only just finished the hodgepodge prototype last night. But yeah, the CH340 USB bridge, that should only be... I'd be surprised if that was more than 50 cents to $1. And there really isn't much else. I did lose the chip, I don't know where it went. Oh, right, Jim, okay. And yours came to about €20. Alright then. Question, the 219s are very cheap purely because of the fact that they're just everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. That there is probably the part that I took off. I mean, there are other ones that are more expensive. You know, they've either got a better sample rate or better bit resolution, things like that, but for this one, they're pretty cheap. I mean, I think it cost me less than $5 a board for the tap boards that I had built there. So that was the board, the parts, the building of them. So yeah, that's pretty cheap. Honestly, the only reason I didn't build one of these much sooner is simply because I thought that with the whole USB system, it was going to be a nightmare to, you know, do the current and voltage sampling, but thankfully someone showed me that that wasn't the case, and from there everything went smoothly. Ish. LCSE has 219 for 91 cents, quantity 30. Yeah, I mean, so that's pretty cheap and normal, yeah. That's a dodgy one. So if you look around, you can source most parts quite cheap. I don't know what those LCD panels are selling for now. They're the COG 8x2 ones, but I remember them only costing me about $1.90 a piece, something like that. That was in 100 unit quantities. Mind you, to be fair, that was over 10 years ago. Do you repair PowerBooks much? No. Basically, if it's anything earlier than pretty much 2012 is about my cutoff nowadays. But it's not pillow in heading, but it's close. It just needs a bit more. There we go. Jim Hook sent me one of the Bluetooth enabled ones, and that's when I basically decided I really had to do something myself. I kind of hoped the Bluetooth would have been a game changer, but it ended up, no. It was just a typical Bluetooth nightmare for me. And you know what? Maybe this product will not find any sales at all, but at the end of the day, all I really care about, well, the primary thing I care about is that I now have a tool that does what I want and lets me put the information on screen. And anything else beyond that will be just a nice bonus. So would $1 million. Oh, fap off. Oh, damn it, man. You knocked that inductor. Ah. What is this? The night of drama? And that was just about to let go, too. Would you still do this if you had your $1 million? I quite probably would, yes. I find it extremely satisfying to do tool design and problem solving, this sort of thing. I mean, maybe something else would come up, but $1 million really isn't that much anymore. In fact, if you sort of go into retirement with less than $1 million, you may even struggle with the life expectancies. So yeah, $1 million would actually probably give me a chance to finally enjoy myself a little more with this stuff. Maybe I'll learn how to use my CNC desktop machine. Maybe I'll get myself a 3D printer. So I wouldn't say having $1 million is rich, but I would say it is perhaps somewhat more liberating. You have to up your dreams. Well, I mean, when you're in your 20s and teens and stuff like that, you're told to have these colossal dreams, or dream big, all that sort of stuff. And yet, funnily enough, at the end of the day, a lot of people, you get burned out by your dreams, and you tend to find that the biggest dream is to be able to actually enjoy yourself, not drag your ass out of bed when you're tired. I guess it's a bit of a coasting lifestyle. And I think also your dreams will change as you have the option to change them. So who knows what it'll be. For now, that's my perception. And if I get the $1 million, I'll let you know if it changes. Yeah, Miles, that's right. I mean, I was doing the big dream thing. We're talking about the .com era, and I ran pretty hard with that .com era, the whole Y2K, everything, all of that. I would be up at 5 in the morning, I'd go to bed at 10 at night quite often, wouldn't get enough sleep in general, doing all these entrepreneuring meetings, everybody flashing off their fanciness. And at the end of the day, pretty much all of us just fried out. It's fun for a little bit, but when the reality comes calling, you sort of go, you know what, this is not really worth it. A great majority of us lost huge amounts of money. I was there one day and then boom, everything just started falling apart. Yeah, the 2002, 2001. Yeah, basically after the .com, and I shouldn't say after the .com, after Y2K, everybody realised there actually wasn't that much money around anymore. It all being gobbled up by greedy bastards like us. Most people spent tremendous amounts of money on Y2K. And because of all that money moving around, like one of the huge companies that I worked for, they had their biggest ever year in, I think it was over 50 years. That was 1999, 2000. And then the next year, they went broke. So it was a fairly catastrophic time. And most of it happened because we all tend to overextend. And then, of course, it happened again with the 2008 global financial crisis. And the stress was immense for some of us. Yeah, some people cope with it quite fine. And that's great for those people. But for a lot of people, we're actually not too good at handling that kind of chronic stress, that pressure, unrelenting. And it doesn't help that everybody was racing around like madmen because they could see everybody else racing around like madmen. I think the movie American Psycho captured a lot of it. Maybe not so much the chainsawing thing, but other than that, but I remember driving back from a few places in my nice BMW, and I would have to literally stick my fingers between my teeth to stop me basically destroying my teeth. I could not stop them from clenching. And it's a very weird for me to think back to that sort of thing. Yeah, just be driving along and I've realised I'm clenching my teeth really hard and chipping the hell out of the enamel. And I'd have to stick my fingers between my teeth just to stop that. And I even ended up getting a mouth guard to wear while I slept, simply because I was wrecking my teeth that way. And the crazy thing is you don't feel stressed when it's happening. You feel a bit of pressure, but you don't feel like you're having a breakdown at that point. That comes years later. Too much cocaine. I'm happy to say I certainly never partook in any of that. I would end up at parties where it was fairly free-flowing, but it was not something I ever partook in, thankfully. So getting back to the dream thing, I think sometimes one of the hardest dreams to attain is just the dream of not having to get up and chase something each day. So the display is a bit jacked up, keyboard's completely jacked up. I hate it because these are difficult to find. So I clench at night and I gave up on trying to wake up every morning with jaw pain from hell. Yeah, obviously there you go. So. Well, one way, it wasn't something I would normally do. That's the thing, yeah. For me, it wasn't a normal response thing. And certainly after I stopped being involved in that kind of lifestyle, it went away. So yeah, some people do it, but it wasn't normal for me. This is going to be a pain in the backside. That's definitely burnt through, I think. I say definitely and then I say think. €2 million would suffice. Yeah, that'd probably be hell. Yeah, for me, I would like to. My dream would be able to have the time available to me that I can go out to the backyard and go, you know what, I need to build a replacement shed for the foster cats, and just start building it. It'd be nice to have that kind of time available on my hands to do that sort of thing. Nice to finally put my woodworking skills to use. See if I still even have any woodworking skills. Certainly in the 90s, everybody was told you got to dream big, you got to aim big, go big, go big, go large. At least if you aim for the stars and you fail, at least you land in the moon and all that sort of crap. But for the most part, it pretty much just sets up people with unrealistic expectations of what their future life's going to be or should be like, which in turn makes their life a living hell because they then reflect back on themselves and go, I failed so much because I didn't achieve all these great big dreams that I was supposed to. I mean, would I like to be at Elon Musk level of building rockets and stuff? Damn right I would, that'd be great. But I think realistically, at some point, I came to realise that it's probably not my nature to be that kind of person. I mean, I do very much enjoy the, what do you call it, the research and development and all that stuff. That's really more my thing. Research, development, design. So if I can do that sort of thing in whatever field I want to do research, development, design, then that's great. And for the most part I do that now. I mean, I know it doesn't seem like a big thing, but say like doing the USB current meter or writing the software or things like that. Yeah, that's all the kind of stuff I like doing. And if I get bored of that, I'm sure I'll find something else. Yeah, one way, that is true. I think if you're not conditioned to handling large sums of money, then you are very likely to lose it. Which I think is something that happens to a surprisingly more people than what we probably realise. It'd be interesting to have a look at bankruptcy statistics by age, and I would not be surprised, I mean, I don't know, I'm speculating out of my ass here, but I would not be surprised if the mid to late 30s age bracket is one of the highest for defaulting. Simply because you finally start to get the trust of banks or investors and things like that, and you start picking up large sums of money, but you don't always know how to manage it properly, and you get a little bit silly, or the biggest thing is you overextend, or you over leverage yourself, and then when the creditors come calling, you're screwed. I mean, I know I came within a bee's dick of having to consider defaulting, declaring bankruptcy. I wasn't able to work. My mental health was completely crap. I couldn't get out of bed. It was just all a big fat train wreck. But I managed to just claw my way out of that by the skin of my teeth. And there was some darkish days. I won't say dark days because I know there's some people out there genuinely stuck on the streets and things like that. But darkish days where you sort of got $1.20 in your pocket and you're thinking, how the hell am I going to feed my family on $1.20? And then you have some real sort of bizarro emotional moments when you get your first $50 because you fixed up someone's computer and you realize you can actually finally buy yourself a pair of shoes that doesn't have a million holes in it and you haven't got stuck together with tape inside so that people won't realize that you've got shoes that are falling apart when you turn up at their place to fix their computer. Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, yeah. I don't really care to go back to those days ever. So I tend to be fairly conservative now with my money. And then you find out how much food gets thrown our way in the supermarket. Yeah, that's a bit of a tricky one. These pads have been difficult. Yeah, Paul, I'm not really sure why they're being difficult with taking the solder. But you're right, they're really not. Let's try a bit of assistive heat to try and kick them along. One way, fixing computers in the park, yeah, stuff like that. But I am happy with the fact that I managed to find my way out of that. As in, I managed to get things right. It took quite a while, but I finally made it. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, they don't quite make it. They maybe perhaps don't have the opportunities around them to be able to help them get through. And by opportunities, I mean sometimes it can just simply be a case of having a roof over your head for a couple of months. Yeah, like I said, I was lucky. I got through it. Sometimes it's other pressures in your life, things that are forcing you to have to put your attention to non-business, non-work type situations. Now, why is that not detaching? I mean, I don't really care about having the flashiest of the stuff, but I do like to have a nice, comfortable pair of shoes, clothes without holes in them, a house of my own, which is now actually becoming quite a difficult thing for a lot of people to get. I think a lot of people have a better chance if they move to places like where I live, but of course the downside of that is then the places where I live will become unreasonably expensive for the people who already live here, which is actually what happened around the turn of the century. You used to be able to get places here 50 to 80,000 easily, and then there was a sudden gold rush up here, so to speak, and the prices basically just doubled overnight. We would get people selling up from Sydney and Melbourne, and they would come along here and they would buy themselves a nice place, and then they'd buy a couple of rentals, places to rent out. And so for them, it was a brilliant move. They get a good lifestyle, a good weather up here, apart from the heat in summer, but it's got to be more tolerable than the cold down there. That pad there hasn't sat down properly, so I'm going to have to reflow that. Hey, warrant stamps. Miles, maybe the bubble will pop this time. I think with the pressure from the rising interest rates, I think it might actually finally do it. Simply because, clearly a lot of people are excessively leveraged. Yeah, you got these people with $1 million, $2 million houses, and they're keeping them. They got them purely on interest-only loans, and it's like, flip's sake, I touched it in the wrong place. Something is stopping it sitting down properly there, and I've touched the connector. Yeah, it's weird. I can't see anything obstructing it, but it definitely was not sitting down properly. We'll try one more time. The negative gearing thing, yeah, that's... Basically, the trouble is that we made housing an investment strategy. I shouldn't say trouble, because I mean, you know, it's what it was, and people took the opportunity. But certainly in terms of opportunities to get a house, it's becoming very difficult. But of course the people who make the decisions and all that sort of thing with regards to that are the ones that inevitably are advantaged by the current situation. So it's like trying to ask politicians to take a pay cut. It's not going to happen. Okay, this is really starting to piss me off because I do not know why it's not sitting down. I'll get another one and see what I can do. The trouble is it's hard to find these connectors. There's not too many of them around. But yeah, there's something definitely not right with that connector, and I don't know what. Well, it's not brilliant, but we'll take a shot at this one. Well, the connector itself is fine in terms of removal and whatnot, but I don't know, it's like one of the pins got stuck. Anyway, we'll try again. I did a iPhone 6 TriStar today. It's been about 1.5 years since I've done one of those things. It was very strange doing it. Fortunately it went all well, fixed up the problem. I'm not using 200 air. I actually don't want to wick the pads. I want them fluffed with the leaded solder, so that will then draw down the part. Like I said, normally it's not a problem, this part. Oh, yeah, so there we go, that one went down just how it should. Yeah. I mean, that could do with a little bit more solder, but I can see it's actually sitting flat. I see that Mr. Lewis Rossman may be off to new and exciting career opportunities. Very curious to see what he's actually going to be doing. It'll be nice to see him get away from the shop, maybe hand it off to someone else. Hey there, Greg. Hey, Micro Repairs. So we've got a little bit of a problem here. This veer feels like it's a little bit corroded internally, so we need to punch a hole through it basically. Yeah, Greg, a lot of Lewis's streams I don't get round to catching anymore. By choice or otherwise. Most of the time, if he's doing a live stream, I'll drop in, say hello, annoy him. But for the most part, you can sort of tell he doesn't really want to be talking about technical MacBook stuff anymore, and I've got no problem with that. I think he's pretty much had his fill of it. You know, he's in his early 30s, he's probably eager for that change. Because naturally I'm just speculating. So what I'm doing here is just trying to see whether I need to repair this veer. First I've got to see where exactly it comes out. Oh wow, I was completely off. Okay. Yeah, I think I will try and tidy up this veer. I'll just put this wire through it, solder it up on both sides. He's got the quarter life crisis coming on. A 33, that'd be an impressive lifespan. But yeah, I know what you're saying. Instead of a half midlife crisis, quarter life crisis. Well, that's what I was sort of talking about before, where you're told to have these dreams, and then you take a pause for a moment, somewhere between about 28 and your 30s, and you go, did I get anywhere with my dream? Did I actually achieve anything, or have I just wasted my time? So on and so forth. So it's a time for a bit of introspection. And sometimes you're not happy with things. Or, sometimes you just go, yeah, okay, look, I feel like I achieved what I wanted to, and now I want to try something new. I know the guy beats himself up quite a bit over the fancy store that he got, but at the time, all the indications were that it was probably the right choice. Not so much for appearances, but more just to simply have room to do what looked like was coming down the pipeline. My life is a crisis, no need for a stage. That's because you keep harassing PCHs. If you stopped harassing PCHs, you probably wouldn't have the crisis. Anyway, I'm hoping the best of luck with him. You certainly put a lot of effort into a lot of things, and I hope it pays off with this new venture. Even if it is just, say, sitting on a beachside drinking pina coladas. As long as it's not Everclear. And you can see the liquid damage left speckles all over this thing. Anyway, I shouldn't talk too much about that sort of situation. I guess the reason why I bring up Lewis Modern Man is because I am indebted to him for the exposure that he provided. He is the one person in my career life, so to speak, that has actually provided a positive monetary return on the back of, I'll give you exposure. And to be fair, it was never a formal agreement or anything like that. It was just more a case of things got lucky, things aligned with the software and the timing, and thankfully I managed to capture his attention with the kitty cat picture. But through him, I know that certainly, I'm indebted to him for the exposure that he has been able to provide. Because if you've been watching his videos for a long time, you remember there was a phase there where he would, even though it was cursing, he would be mentioning me multiple times in every video. And you just can't buy publicity like that. Which is why when he complains and says something like, I need an on-screen display for my multimeter for this system, I'm more than happy to actually help him out at the time. But of course, as soon as he starts complaining that it's my fault that the software is not working, when clearly it's a problem existing between the keyboard and the chair, then I just ignore him. One way, you found me by searching my name. Yes, it's taken me a great number of years to displace the magician from the Google search results enough that I can actually have a place up there. Hey there, MM. Yeah, a lot of people got to know me through Lewis. Okay, so we're taking this connector off because there's liquid damage there and I don't know how much damage is done to this connector. So we're just going to knock the connector off. Certainly from a software perspective, Lewis is one of the most qualified users I've ever had. If I ever needed someone to be hired for the position of a standard user, he fills that role spectacularly. To be fair, like in the field of magic, board repair is not quite so magical once you know how it's done. Wong Wei, I think one of the bigger problems is that really there wouldn't be much to do. Lewis and I probably would not. Yeah, it's I gotta say, I'm not a very interactive person in real life, and he would probably be. Yeah, it's not a match made in heaven. I'm sorry. He would need to be here with one of his own buddies, and I could just visit. I just need to get a connector. Besides, to be fair, flying to Australia is not a trivial thing from the United States. It is an arduous trek at the best of times. And I would expect him, Lewis that is, I would expect him to say, I would expect him to say to me, hey Paul, I really like, send you messages or whatever when I need to and stuff like that, but you're not worth taking that trip for. And I would fully expect that. And if he didn't, I would probably be a bit disappointed. Simply because of the fact that I was like, come on man, you really, it's not like I'm some hot chick who's head over heels for you and stuff like that. I'm just some guy that writes your software. Well, I don't even write it for you, I write it for the industry. But it'd be nice if you ever did come over here, but I certainly would never ask you to expect you to come over, even if I paid your airfares, even if I covered all your costs as well as lost work costs and things like that. Right. I really got to order myself some better connectors because these ones don't have those locating pins and it can make it a little bit tricky at times. Yeah, especially from New York City. 23, yeah, exactly. And it's add another 4 hours on that once you get into Australia, because to get up to here is yet another trip. About the only scenario that could even remotely work is if perhaps I flew down to, say, Sydney, Melbourne, and I'm disinclined to do that at the best of days. For goodness sake, you're ticking me off, board. I'm not trying to do a proper join here, I'm just trying to do a tack. Like I said, if it was in Sydney for some reason, I would consider making the trip. But that's about it, if he was already here. For goodness sake, I am really having a crappy time here tonight. So I just want to tack this, that's it, that's tacked. Hey creature, enjoy the swim for your doggy. At least it's warm where you are for the moment. But I know it doesn't last very long for you guys. Then you're going to go back down to the deep, dark depths of hellish cold. Not seeing your front porch or the sun for the next 6 months. Yeah. So yeah, definitely utilize what you can now. The problem I've got here is that normally I would use the micro pencil blade edge because it's fine enough to get down here and put the solder down, but it's got enough thermal capacity to make the solder actually stick. Yeah, that'll do for now too. Like I said, we'll reflow those end connections at the end of the process, but for now they're just to stop the connectors swinging around wildly in the breeze. 22, that is pretty nice. I think that's around about what we've got today. Yeah, Joe, I don't know how... It'd be a very weird mix. Like, I mean, Dave Jones is the... To me, Dave Jones is like the quintessential Australian. If people think Australian, Dave Jones is pretty much what people are expecting. The way he talks and all that sort of stuff. Myself, not so much. I'm sort of some weird mix of British, Australian, South African. Yeah, take your choice. But yeah, if you want to see an Australian, then Dave Jones is the chap. Myself, definitely not. Yeah, we're going to need some hot air assist here. We're just doing 250. Like I said, this tiny little micro pencil tip is not the right thing to be using for this, but once we've got some hot air... See, this is the backlight output, so it's... Or is it actually? Oh no, wait, I think that's 3v3 LCD. Yep, time to bring out the big chunky tip. Yeah, if you watch EEV blog, just the way he talks, everything about him is pretty much what people are expecting from Australia. About the only thing he doesn't have, which I do have, are the animals around him. But that's because he's living in Sydney, in a house. Whereas I'm living up in the northern tropics, in a shack. Hey there, Alsamoth. Where have you been lately? It's like you got a life or something. Yeah, if you're going to hold a party and say that you've got an Australian guest, then Dave Jones is who you want. When he comes out and he starts talking, everybody's going to be so happy. They're like, oh my god, he's genuine Australian. They bring me out and they're like, yeah, we want our money back, thanks. See, my mother-in-law lives with us and has a nurse aide come in daily. And one lady hails from the UK, and I was watching your stream and she did ask where you are from. Yes, it really, like I said, I do tend to throw people a little bit. A lot of it comes from the fact that I was, my language, so to speak, developed when I was living in Adelaide. And Adelaide is a bit of a pommy side of Australia. So that's where a strong amount of the British influence comes in. And then of course, going off to South Africa for a while, that just threw things around a bit more again. Barry Mackenzie is more Australian. Now you see I'm going to get in trouble here because I'm not sure who Barry Mackenzie is. We will test to see if this runs, but this is certainly something that's probably going to be thrown into the ultrasonic cleaner before it goes too much further. There's a bit of junk down here, but in all honesty, this is more ultrasonic clean stuff. Hey Catherine, welcome. There's been a nasty bit of corrosion on that. Like I said, fortunately ultrasonic should sort that out. That's looking good enough. Let's plug it in and see what happens, eh? I don't really need to put it into the chassis yet. First stage of testing, we'll just put the chipmunk in. Very handy tool to have. I mean, yeah, you can substitute it just by getting a memory stick that has 2 sets of lights on it. Or you can just get a chipmunk. The chipmunk does give you a little bit more information. Okay, I'm just going to make sure we get a green blinko. Come on, give us a green blink. Now, of course, being a 4924, this fan will not spin for a great period of time yet. It has to be borderline catching on fire before it will... There we go, okay, we've got a green blink, so that's good. Yeah, it has to be borderline catching fire before that fan will start up. Okay, Repair It All, thanks for being here. I'll see you next time. Whenever that shall be. And now I just want to see if it will give us a boot. And hopefully that keyboard backlight is okay. Oops, it snagged something I shouldn't have then. So this wasn't really a repair as such. It was more of a maintenance job. God fuck damn. The microphone cable's stuck under the logic board, but that's okay. As always, the keyboards on these things, the keyboard flex is a colossal pain in the ass. What the hell? Okay, that took too long. Display, there's probably going to be a fair bit of flux in there, but that's okay. That'll get washed out. Battery. Now, see if I can find my boot stick. There we go, boot stick. Plug that in. Oh, whoops. Option. You won't mind if I send you a bunch of power G4 Mac power supplies? Oh, yeah. That will go straight into the bin, probably. But thanks for warning me. Yeah. Okay, there is a... Yeah, we've got a display problem here. I'm pretty sure the display itself is faulty. I've got a green tinge over here. Yeah. And being at 2015... 1502, that basically means this is now beyond economical repair, unfortunately. Oh, it has got a backlight, it's just very low at the moment. So I'm 99% sure it's bad display. Yep, there you go. See? But yeah, unfortunately, 2015 1502s and 1398s, once their displays are damaged, they're just parts machines. There's simply no way to... You cannot economically replace this screen. They still sell for 500 plus. It's sad because they are good machines, but the displays, they're becoming like hen's teeth. Wrong way, you can sell it to you. Unfortunately, I do not have the privileges to... Yeah, look at all this. That's just a very messed up display. And the keyboards, yeah. And we've got pinstripes up here. Sort of see... It's actually a very interesting failure mode. I don't think I've ever seen a MacBook have this particular failure mode before for the screen. Now, the only thing this would be good for, unfortunately, is diagnostics. Okay, I mean, it's charging. We've got 3.5 amps. That's a solid charge rate. The battery is dead flat. Kind of curious why... Oh, I was going to say this here hasn't come up, and that's simply because the battery is so flat that it's running in a reduced performance mode. Using your 1502 plugged into a monitor with the lid closed. Oh, does it still run with this thing unclosed? Oh. Okay. I suppose you can always hard rig the lid sensor anyway if you wanted. Personally, I find for these machines, High Sierra is pretty good going. I use High Sierra on my boot sticks. It just seems to be a good choice of operating system for general testing. Just waiting for 1 or 2% to come up. At 3 amps charge rate, it shouldn't take too long. With the USB-C meter, and probably also I'll move this planned feature to my existing power supply meters as well. I'm planning on putting a graph on it so that you can catch any transient spikes that might come through that you didn't look up and see originally. I'm just trying to think how best to do it so that it doesn't take up too much room. I may end up sacrificing... I don't know really, to be honest, which way I'm going to go. I can make it, say, like a double width unit so that... where are we going over here? So like this here, if I extend it off further, but so it'll end up being that half the screen is, or maybe just this entire top section, the entire top section up here just runs across the width of the screen with all the various bits of information. Will you need a monthly subscription for the graphing function? No, most certainly not. It'll all be open source. Hello, Frumius, Buttersnotch, Bandersnotch. Okay, have we got to 1-2% yet? No, still not. 3.3 amps, it's really... I still do not have a fan spin. That's hilarious. No, only BMW do that. If you want some hot statistics, then yeah, okay, maybe I can make the hot statistics a subscription thing. But for the ordinary statistics, no. I'm just going to run the Valley program anyway. The performance is going to be pretty lackluster, but anyway, run. Yes, it is shimmering in real life. I can see it shimmering, just slightly. Not as severely as what you can see. Okay, we've got our 1% up. No, we're doing alright. We've got like 30 plus frames per second. 30, 40 frames per second. That's pretty good. Temperatures are coming up. Fans start to spin. As you can see here, it's like 1500 RPM. So yeah, the board's all working fine. Just unfortunately, the screen is cactus, and the keyboard's probably going to be pretty soon after that. Pay $180,000 for a car, then yeah, that's the thing that I think irritates me the most about it, Moles, is the way they, nickel and dime or penny and dime, whatever you want to say, their way to extra profits. It's like, come on, just give us the option to just buy it outright with everything that we want. Although, as far as I understand, was the $10 thing only if you didn't buy it originally with that feature and then you wanted to add it afterwards? I know my next car purchase is most likely going to be an electric vehicle if I can. I mean, we've got the solar here, so it's a fine way of making sure that we maximize our investment. The other thing is that I would like to use the car as a storage system and also participate in the virtual power plant network. Because around here, I probably drive 10 kilometers a day. That's it, at most. 10 k's a day at the most. So really, I would be using my electric vehicle more as a household battery than I would be using it as a vehicle. So I would like to get a battery for the house, but at 15,000 for, it's about, let's call it $1,000 a kilowatt hour. It's it's a single purpose investment. It's a little bit hard to swallow at the moment. Yeah, Miles, I'm thinking if they move towards going with sodium ion batteries, which should come down in price, and certainly in terms of supply restrictions, sodium ion should at least be a lot easier to manufacture, because certainly no shortage of sodium anywhere. But I think that it may be a while coming, simply because if they go sodium ion, they're going to end up with a shorter range. And overall, one of the biggest sticking factors of EV adoption, aside from price, is the perception of range issues, even if you do only drive 10 kilometers a day. So I think if it wasn't range anxiety, we could probably have cheaper EVs for sure. If you take say a Tesla 3 and cut the battery pack in half, you're probably going to save $20,000 just there. But the market won't go for that because of range anxiety. Yeah, we've been waiting for the lithium sulfur batteries for a long time. They were being touted as the new thing next year back in about 2010, when I was dealing with model aircraft, and they were like, "Oh yeah, the big thing was lithium sulfur's coming. You're going to get very good charge rates, energy density around about the same, but superior charge rates and discharge rates and longevity." But yeah, that was 2010, and so here we are 12 years later, and we're still waiting on sodium sulfur. Not sodium sulfur, lithium sulfur. I have a feeling that sodium ion will probably be sooner to the market than lithium sulfur will. Particularly for stationary storage, sodium ion should dominate there. Because it's not a big problem if you have another 20%, 30% more weight sitting on a concrete plate out the side of your house for your energy storage. For a car, yeah, sure, it makes a bit of difference, but for stationary storage, sodium ion should be what they're focusing on. They do have issues with degradation of the pack, but I do believe they've gotten around most of that now. And then that lets them save the current king of energy density, being the lithium ion polymer. Lets you save that for transport situations. That's it, I think once people get over the range anxiety, they may be more willing to accept a sodium ion battery in the car with 20% less range. But right now, it's pretty much going to kill your sales if you present that option. Alright, 3%. Yeah. Okay, so the logic board is fine. It's picking up Wi-Fi, everything. I don't know what the camera is going to be like. Probably terrible. Let's see if it even works. Camera works. But yeah, the screen's cactus. So that's unfortunate. Robert Cook, I'm not sure about that aspect. Certainly I know things like dendrites were a big problem with lithium sulfur. To be fair, almost all battery chemistries, when they ignite, are a real problem. Nickel cadmium used to be actually terrible for that sort of thing. Mostly because what would happen with nickel cadmium is that the cells would cook so much and they would spit out this extremely hot electrolyte mix at you. And of course it was laden with cadmium. I can't even say it properly. So that was actually quite a toxic issue. Nickel metal hydride is probably the safest around, in terms of if it does get into a flammable state. Hey there, Branches. Sorry, we're just about almost finishing up. Yeah, Jimbo, there's various approaches for the dendrite situation. I think the problem comes down to is that they fix the dendrites and they lose out in another area. I mean, it's pretty normal overall to have that sort of situation where you fix one issue and another issue sort of gets worse. And I saw some comments today in some Facebook places, which of course is a bad place to go on the five. Um, but there was one person saying, "Imagine where we'd be if we'd started focusing on battery technology 100 years ago." And it's like, you do realise that we actually have been working on battery technology rather feverishly for the last 100 plus years, which is why we do have things like lithium ion, lithium polymer. We just didn't really have. Um, we didn't really have. What am I trying to think? Yeah, can't think. I mean, 40 years ago we picked up nickel metal hydride and nickel cadmium. I mean, nickel cadmium was invented back in 1899 or something like that, I think. So they've been around a fair bit. But I guess what I'm trying to get to is that since 40 years ago, we have increased our energy density per mass by about 5 times relative to what we had back then. So, things have been progressing. Yes, the convenience of dinosaur juice, or is it really dinosaur juice? Isn't that a misnomer? Isn't it still actually just plant material? Anyway, regardless, liquefied solar energy. The convenience of it won out overall at that time. And now we're getting back to the point where, with the various advances we do have and the social pressures, that batteries are sort of coming back in as an option. Plus, the big thing that really made electric vehicles viable now is the advent of very efficient brushless three-phase controllers. Because if we were using DC motors and stuff like that, brushed motors, it really would not work at all. But the ability for us to take pretty much any electrical power source, connect it up to almost any motor, like a three-phase brushless motor. We didn't really have that technology in compact form with high efficiencies until about 10, 15 years ago, with the advent of widely available microcontrollers, very low resistance MOSFETs, or now IGBTs, or what's the new thing that's come out? There's a new type of transistor that's out now. It's more the MOSFET family that does even better than IGBTs. But they're only moderately recent advances, and with those, that is making electric power for vehicles and things like that actually quite viable. I mean, so we're talking about, I think it's like 90% conversion rate now, which is absolutely amazing. Whereas if you go, pardon me, if you went for the old DC brushed style, I think you probably get 60, 70%. So the efficiency gains are amazing. Plus, the main thing is also, I shouldn't say the main thing also, the other big thing is the fact that you can go, say, from a 20 volt pack and drive another motor of whatever size, because we have the ability to convert voltages up and down on whim with the advances that we have in switch mode technology that we just simply did not have 15 years ago. At least not in the size. Like now you can switch a couple of kilowatts if you want on a board that size, whereas before it just simply wasn't a possible thing to do. But it is now, and so now we can capitalize on that. And brushless motors, controlling them, it's a whole game changer now. Before it used to be you needed a three-phase supply, off the mains, and you're sort of stuck in with certain speed ranges and things like that. Now it's like whatever you want, however you want. Let's see, gallium nitrate FETs. I'm not sure. Maybe it is them. Yeah, I'll have to have a look, Jim. I just remember seeing something the other day, because IGBTs were the big thing coming in from about 10 years ago, and now they're pretty much standard. But I saw an article about something new. I think you might be right. Gallium nitride FETs. I'll have to have a look. Yep. Anyway, I'm out of here. So you'll take care. Thanks for sitting around for this pretty standard sort of like clean-up job. It really wasn't a repair as such. I consider it more a clean-up. a real bummer about the display. I'm going to have to, unfortunately, give the news to the person. They're probably going like, ah, crap, how much for a new screen? I'm going to have to give them a nice soft cushion to sit down on before I tell them. So, such is life. Okay, you'll take care. I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.